let's go ahead and get started here. Thank you everyone for joining us. Once again, my name is Ryan Herman, and I'm the lead document management consultant here with Inertia Software Solutions. And today we're going to talk about Metazure's Illuminate product and how it will allow you to access 100% of your documents and emails in one nice, easy-to-use search interface without modifying any of your standard day-to-day workflows. Before we begin here, I just have a few housekeeping matters that I'd like to pass along. As you're joined on this webinar, you have been joined in listen-only mode, which means your microphone is currently muted. If you have any questions at any point during the webinar, please go ahead and type them into the chat bar on your screen, and we will be answering all questions at the end of the presentation. And we will do our best to answer all questions that do come in. If for some reason we don't happen to get to yours, we will follow up with you after we are all wrapped up here. And as an additional note, we are recording the webinar today. So please keep an eye out for an email that will come in from us in the next day or so with a link to this recording and any additional information that we pass along. So before we begin here, I'd like to provide a little bit of framework about Metazure and how it works closely with WorldDocs. Metazure as a company was founded about 9 years ago, and they are based out of Seattle, Washington. And what really makes this, Metazure so unique is that their products have been developed by lawyers for lawyers. And with that background, their development and leadership teams fully understand all the day in, day out demands that attorneys and legal firms and general counsels are under on a day-to-day basis. And they've specifically developed their products for ease of use and to be implemented without changing any of your daily workflows, which is really, really cool. You can get up and running really quickly without it being a huge pain or headache. And today we're specifically going to be looking at Metazure's Illuminate product. And I really like that they've called this product Illuminate, because as it was designed to be a supplement to WorldDocs, Illuminate was created to bring to light a firm's quote-unquote dark data, or that data what I would call those documents and emails that did not get profiled or moved into WorldDocs, right? They're still sitting on your personal computer or in your email, your personal Outlook inbox. When we implement WorldDocs for firms or DMSs, every firm installs the DMS or WorldDocs with the intention that 100% of their documents and emails are going to be saved into the system. But that just doesn't happen, when you get into the real life day-to-day. Emails get left in personal inboxes, and documents do occasionally fall through the cracks and end up stored on a user's personal computer or Dropbox or some other location on your network. So what about those emails and documents that weren't saved? How do we unlock and make useful all of that knowledge that exists outside of WorldDocs? Well, that's specifically where Metazure's Illuminate product comes in. The application, quote-unquote, brings to light and allows you to retrieve all of your documents and emails that exist in your firm's environment, whether they have been saved into WorldDocs or they have not been saved into WorldDocs. So that's the big key right there. It'll retrieve both WorldDocs documents as well as non-WorldDocs documents. The product will crawl your firm's infrastructure and ensure that all PDFs are properly OCR'd and text searchable. And it also allows you through what is similar to a Google search interface to retrieve all of your documents and emails, once again, whether they are in WorldDocs or they got missed at some point. And once again, to highlight this huge point, Illuminate requires no change to your existing daily workflow. Okay, your firm will continue to profile and save documents primarily to WorldDocs or your DMS, but Illuminate search capabilities allow you to cast a wider net, so to speak, and retrieve both those WorldDocs documents and that outlying quote-unquote dark data that fell through the cracks and was not saved at the proper location. So with that framework, it's my pleasure to introduce Dan Mintz, the Vice President of Channel Sales at Metazure. And he's also an all-around great guy. And Leslie Meagley, the VP of Marketing with Metazure, is also here as well. And they've taken time out of their busy schedules to show us Illuminate in action today. So thanks for being here, guys. Dan, feel free to go ahead and take it away.
Thanks for the nice introduction, Ryan. Appreciate that, and thank you all for joining. I want to first kind of jump into the why. Why is it so important for law firms and legal departments to use Metazure on top of WorldDocs? And really, a lot of it has to do with just the amount of electronic data. In fact, we tracked our own clients and found last year that the average lawyer created or received about 26,000 documents and emails during the year, about 70 to 80 a day. And the volumes are growing. We've tracked a 30% increase over a 2-year period. And a lot of that is email. You can see from the orange, but as more and more lobby is being transacted via email. But there's also a lot more PDFs and electronic documents as firms are going more paperless. With that, though, there are challenges, and one being the volume of data is just growing faster. We can file it. It's becoming overwhelming, especially the email, and it's hard to find information that didn't get filed. As Ryan mentioned, that dark data, the data beneath the surface. You may just see the tip of the iceberg, but you don't know what you don't know, and it's hard to get efficient as a firm if you don't have easy access to all your information. So that's really a challenge that we address with Manager by automatically collecting all email and documents, whether or not they're in Manager or whether or not they're in WorldDocs or not in WorldDocs. And as Ryan said, there's not any changes to the daily workflow. Nothing you have to do. It just rides right on top of WorldDocs, and getting information out really is easy as using Google. It's just that easy. So just a little bit on the approach, how this works. The primary software for Manager is actually sitting on a server. Typically, it's behind your firewall. If you want it in the cloud, we have those options also. But there's also a small agent called MetaSync. We refer to it as the Manager robot, and that sits on PCs behind the scenes, sitting on the PC, capturing the email directly from the Outlook client, capturing the metadata around that email, which could be like whom email sent to, received from, the subject, the folder it's dragged into. So it's grabbing all that and the email attachments and copying that to the server Manager's on. And then it also can capture documents that are still sitting on PCs too. But that's happening behind the scenes. In addition, we're connecting into other repositories. Of course, the WorldDocs, but there may be information on a file share, maybe an archive. We can connect in wherever you'd like us to connect. So that way, when you're searching in Manager, you're searching across all the information across the firm and be able to see that which you have permission to see. And around permissions, any permissions you've got set on those repositories by the firm, they're all respected in Manager. What you're going to set in Manager, which I'm going to show in a sec, are permissions around the sharing of email. And then everything everything that's captured by Manager is going to be automatically OCR'd. So that way, even though we're capturing all this great metadata around email and documents, we're also making sure that the text of every single document also informs the search. So this is all done as a back-end process, so you don't have to think about it at all. And even if you're turning OCR on every time you scan a document, what happens is you get email attachments in from others that scan documents and they didn't OCR. So this way, even the email attachments are captured, everything. So this is all, again, another process happening behind the scenes nobody has to worry about. And then what you get is a nice, easy, intuitive interface. It can be retrieved anywhere, even on a mobile device, outside the office. But this, I'm going to show at this point what this looks like. I'm going to dive into a few examples and give you a feel for using this. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the interface. And this is our demo site. It looks very similar to how it looks at clients we work with. There's the Google-like search bar. On the left-hand side are ways in which you can narrow your search results. Well, you can always narrow by location, like for example, your PC, shared PC, which is primarily email. But if you may have archives, file shares, of course, WorldDocs, narrow by the type of file, whether it's an email or a type of document, not limited to these four, and also narrow by date or date range. So what I want to do is just run a few examples of searches and actually kind of show that WorldDocs integration also. Before I do that, I want to touch real quickly on the sharing piece and just let you know the sharing, again, I mentioned earlier, sharing controlled in Manager here is really around that sharing of email Could also be used for sharing of documents off PCs, but we find it's primarily the email side. And by default, that sharing is turned off. So you don't have to worry that, oh, just because that agent is on your PC, now everything's opened up. You always see your own email, no problem there. How are you going to open up the email to the rest of the group, you can define right here. And all you do is that there's a sharing link right here, and actually when I click it, I'm going to get a sharing center. And in the sharing center, what it's going to do is it shows me, replicates my folder structure in Outlook. So I can see, in fact, there's my top level inbox. I have kept that not shared. I've got 3 options. Do I want to keep not shared, which is default? So I've kept it that way because I get a lot of emails coming in there. I don't want to open up everything to everyone, so I just keep it not shared. But I drag email in all these different folders, and like the NCL folder, I click select all. I'm sharing with everybody, which means that we onboard a new lawyer, they'll be able to see everything in there also. And then other folders like, let's say, the 2001 plan folder, I click selectively shared. I'm only going to share that with certain people or a practice group. And then when I click that, I get a button, select users. Click select users is going to show me who I'm currently sharing with. And if I want to add somebody else, I just hit add users, click who else I want to share that with, and then I can just hit share, and that's it. So that's really all I need to do to open up email, and I could help firm be much more efficient, open up more of that valuable email, but still maintain that confidentiality and keep that granularity in terms of sharing on a folder by folder basis. There are a few other options too, which I won't get into right now, but if you wanted to only share attachments, if you want to define an admin to have an admin or an admin see all your email without permissions, you can do it. And if you want to create ethical walls to wall off people, maybe for conflict of interest, for example, very, very easy to do. So with that, I'm going to now launch back to the searching. So that's the sharing piece. And we'll get into searching. We'll just do a few examples to kind of highlight some of the functionality. I'm going to look for actually an amendment to an agreement for a firm named Aspect. And I'll look, go Aspect, amendment. And it's not just going to look as Aspect an amendment or amendment in the body of a document or email. It's looking at really the content and the context of the information. Looking at, is Aspect and amendment together in a file name? Is it together in an email subject? Is there maybe a folder name Aspect? Because the whole thing is we want to return relevant results quickly. So I search on that. I hit find or hit the enter key, either way. And what I'll see are documents and emails related to the firm Aspect, not the word Aspect. Because this is one of the reasons I picked this. Is it's also a very common word, but we're only seeing stuff related to the firm Aspect. I see a combination of documents and emails, and also I noticed that there's a version numbering that someone put in the file naming convention. Great best practice. Not required in Manager, because the way Manager operates is it shows the most recent version of a document on top. Also, it's going to show every document as an individually different version because the duplicates will show up right here. There's one here, one duplicate, 2 duplicates. If I click on that, it'll show me the duplicate documents. Actually, not inherently obvious because the file names are totally different. So duplicate in Manager means same type of file, exact character match. Okay. I can also for every document email that shows up, you notice a folder path. The folder names for every document email are all listed. It's all metadata we capture, and you can also dive into those folders, whether they're folders in World Docs. I can just click on that link and dive in there, go one level up. So I can dive into those folders, and I might see relevant information that may be important to view, and it gives me an opportunity to browse that information too. Everything that shows up here also, if you click on anything, you're going to see a quick text preview pane on the right-hand side. And it's a real nice convenience feature. It's another reason that besides being able to search on all the text in the documents we OCR is you can see the preview pane. This was actually a signed amendment that was OCR'd. It was scanned in, and there's the text shows up. I can even highlight the text and copy it right there and paste it right into a Word document if I want. Then if I want to open it up, I just click open, go ahead and launch that that document, or if it's an email, I can see the email string. If I click open, it'll launch the email in Outlook with the attachments. I'm going to show now, I want to show a little bit more around that World Docs connection. I'll just do a few examples here. I want to look for something regarding reorganizing the energy industry. Okay, let's go ahead and search on that. And what I find is a document named Symposium. Now, there was nothing in that file name, but reorganizing the energy industry was in the body of that document. In fact, if I click on that, I can see that there. But this is one that was within World Docs. I can see those folders. But I found that by those words within the body of that document. Well, it ended up, if I click open, and I go ahead and open that document up, what I find is that that was actually a document that was scanned in, and it was actually not a very good document in terms of the quality. In fact, it's very some spots it's really hard to read. It's very, very light and difficult. The OCR, being that everything's OCR'd, it was done, and now that text was picked up. Most of it. It wasn't 100% because it was some very light text, but most was picked up enough that, again, I was able to find that. Okay. A few other examples. I want to look for attorney-client privilege. I want to look for emails that are in World Docs, so around attorney-client privilege. And just for some keywords. Okay, client. Okay, we'll just make it easy. All right, let's go find that. Now I'm looking only stuff in World Docs, so I can narrow by location. So I want just this in World Docs, and also narrow by email. So there I go. I've got 6 emails that I found around attorney-client privilege that were in World Docs, and one of them actually here, I see there's not even attorney-client privilege in the email subject, but it was in the body of the email. Another example, I want to look for something where a document may be in World Docs, but the email isn't. The email that the document was attached to. So I'm going to look for something related to, actually a document I'm looking for is Calpine Corporation. And I'll just make it easy. Okay, look for Calpine Corporation, and I know it's got to be in World Docs. Okay, and all right. So I find there's the Calpine Corporation document. That's exactly what I'm looking for. It's in it's in World Docs. I've got location, but I want to find the email it's attached to. So I want to look for that email in World Docs that was Calpine Corporation. I click email, and I've got nothing. Okay, so there's no email regarding Calpine that made it into World Docs, but it's most likely on someone's Outlook. I'll click Share PCs, and I've got 48 emails related to Calpine Corporation. All right, so I just want to find some that document were attached to, so I can just go Calpine Corporation doc, and now I'm down to 16 emails that are in someone's Outlook that were Calpine Corporation, where that document was attached to. And sure enough, I can verify there's the attachments. And so these are 16 emails. And actually, if I look at the results, they're all sorted by default by relevancy. And relevancy ranking is based on a number of factors, one being email subject. So Calpine's in the subject, comes up higher. I just want to reorder this. I want to see the most recent emails where that Calpine was attached to, and I'll go ahead and reorder that to newest to oldest, and there I go. And then so I've got emails, all these emails I found in Outlook where that Calpine Corporation document was in World Docs were attached to, and if I want, I can even export those out of the system, but just by clicking Export Results, it'll package all those emails up into a zip file. I can save it to a thumb drive or on my desktop. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I've got just a few slides just to kind of wrap this up, and just to highlight three key benefits of why this is so important. One of them, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to see all 100% of your data because everything's automatically collected. The PDFs are all searchable no matter where they're at. The file shares are indexed and retrievable. Unstructured data, maybe you have data in a litigation database or client data that's just not going to get into World Docs, and you at least know that that's all going to be indexed, and it's working very, very seamlessly and not having to do anything different. It's very flexible, adapts to you and your firm and how you operate. If you've got new data sources, if you're onboarding a new lawyer, for example, or any of the new data sources, we can quickly connect up and index and OCR that. As your filing structures evolve, Manager rolls with it, so it's extremely flexible. To access on mobile devices, extremely easy because you don't even need a separate app. It just launched right out of a web browser, just connecting in the server, pulling it up in a web browser, so it makes it easy to access this from anywhere. And you've got complete control over how the email and or documents on PCs can be opened up and shared. And last, this is completely non-disruptive. You don't have to, as Ryan said, you don't have to change anything. You don't have to change any of your workflow. Just keep saving information in World Docs and however you're doing it. You don't have to change anything. And you don't have to tag and upload anything more to Manager. You don't have to go through long training because it's very easy to use. No data conversion, and we can have this thing up and running for you in just a few days. And just a quick thing on pricing. The pricing is very cost effective. It's a yearly subscription which includes all maintenance, support, and upgrades. And just an example here I've got on the screen, based upon firm size, starts at $2,500 per year for Illuminate to supplement World Docs, and then goes up based upon the size of the firm. Okay.
So with that, Dan, thank you. And Ryan, we've got a couple of questions here that have come through. I thought I might just throw some of these out to you guys and just see. I don't know, Ryan, if you want to take this first one. Let me just read you what's come in.
Sure.
Can a manager search include both World Docs files and documents and emails outside of World Docs too?
All right, good question. Yeah, it sure can, and that's really what's so cool about the application, Illuminate, and why it's a huge value add for those firms that already have World Docs. It does, as Dan showed us here, it captures everything, all of your data, whether it's on your personal computer, or network share, or some legacy repository. It scans everywhere, and Manager search results return hits for all documents, unlike World Docs search results, which only return hits for those items that have been saved into World Docs. So yes, it can.
That's great. Thank you. Dan, here's a question for you. Can you do advanced searching in Manager like what we do in Westlaw?
Absolutely. I didn't show it on the demo just because of the time, but all the advanced searching you may be used to doing in Westlaw or LexisNexis, it's all supported in Manager. So you can do like Boolean search, fuzzy search, wildcard, proximity search, all that stuff. It's all supported. I mean, it's made to be very easy, but we have that both in a user guide and just also have a little cheat sheet on our help screen if you forget how to do it, and we touch on it in training too.
That's great. That's great. Ryan, here's one for you. Does Manager index both email messages and the attached documents? Does it preserve some kind of a link between the emails and the documents?
Okay, yeah, that's another good one. Yeah, Manager sure does maintain that link and also index both the email message and the attachment. So this allows you to perform, as an example, it would allow you to perform a Manager search and return a hit for, let's say, a document attachment. But you can also see the email that document was attached to at the same time as well. So the link between, the email attachment and the email itself is preserved, so you can always see what email the attachment originated from.
That's great. Thank you. Here's one for you, Dan. What if we want to exclude certain data locations from being indexed by Manager, like our HR drive?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do that, and actually that's typically the initial configuration when this is all set up, deciding where is manager going to point to. So yeah, we have firms that don't want to have everything indexed, so HR drivers, that's a perfect example. So we can actually exclude. Now obviously there's the sharing permissions, but if you don't want to have anything indexed at all, then we just don't point to it. And you can do that at any time and make a change there too.
That's great. If a document, and Dan, this is another one for you, if a document gets moved to a new folder location after it's been indexed, can managers still find it after the move?
Yes, you still find it, but what will reflect in manager is actually the new location. So if you move it to a different folder, now I mentioned earlier the metadata that the folder name is picked up. So what happens now is the metadata picked up for the different folder is now picked up. It'll show that it's now in another folder. You can click on and find another folder, but you'll still find it. It just now reflected as being a different folder. It's going to mirror whatever you do in terms of how it's saved. Great.
Ryan, we got a question here on OCR. Would manager also OCR all the legacy documents that we currently have in our S drive?
Yeah, that's the OCR is a huge feature in my opinion. So yeah, Illuminate is going to crawl all locations on your network, and it will OCR any PDF documents that are found to not have that text layer. So Manager is not restricted to only OCRing certain locations on your network unless you block it, as Dan just said. And so with that, any PDF document that is found to not have that text layer will indeed be OCR'd.
I'm going to just bring up a quick example because I'm talking with just really recently one of our clients, our customers is a real estate law firm, and they were actually, a lawyer at the firm was looking for the original parking restrictions contained in the covenants on this real estate project, and the information was buried somewhere among like 2,400 scanned pages in an archive folder. So because they had manager, they let us know to save this because all their documents were OCR and text searchable, and they found what they were looking for right away. So it's nice to hear those stories from some of our customers that really see the importance of having that OCR.
That's great, Dan. Thank you. One last question for you, Ryan. How long does it take to install Manager?
Okay, so to install Manager Illuminate, the installation period is typically done in about a 3-hour window. And once the installation is wrapped up, most firms will let the indexing process run over a long weekend to complete that indexing of all the documents. And the amount of time, that indexing process is going to grab all of your Word documents and anything that does have that text layer, and the OCR process will begin at that point. So yeah, about 3 hours to get it installed, and over a long weekend to complete the indexing process on average. So not a huge headache. It's not like the long install process of WorldDocs where you're having to spin up all your different WorldDocs cabinets and figure out your structure and your document types. 3 hours, let it run over a weekend, and you're good to go.
Great.
All right, cool. Leslie, that's all the questions that we have.
Yep, that's it, and we're right at time, so that's perfect.
Hey, we did well done. Well done, everyone. Just a reminder, we're going to wrap the webinar up at this time. But if we did not get to your question here, if you're typing it in right now, or you have a question that comes to your mind after the fact, please contact either Dan, Leslie, or myself, and we will follow up with you directly after this webinar is wrapped up. And be sure to keep an eye out for a recording of this webinar by email. We'll be emailing that out to you guys over the next day or so. And thank you, everyone, as well as Dan and Leslie for joining us here today. Hope everyone has a great Wednesday, and we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.